In this video, I'm going to discuss the linguistic aspects of the fictional city of Night City, set in the cyberpunk universe and whether it's realistic or not. Cyberpunk as a genre is itself a subgenre of science fiction. Classic science fiction stories like Star Trek usually take place in a picturesque future where humanity can put aside its differences to achieve incredible scientific marvels. Whereas Cyberpunk takes a much more pessimistic approach and says, what if things got a lot worse? Cyberpunk the board game was originally created by Mike Pondsmith in 1988. In 2020, it would be adapted into a video game and again into an anime in 2022, which are the two main sources of my research. Both the game and the anime take place in the year 2077 and 2076, respectively in Night City, located on the border of South and North California. The city itself is run by many different gangs, which are all unique in their racial and ethnic backgrounds. For example, you have the Spanish-speaking Valentinos, the Japanese-speaking Tiger Claws, and the Creole-speaking Voodoo Boys. The first thing you'll hear constantly in Night City is the term choom, used similarly to the words buddy or friend.
What's up, choom?
In an interview with the Cyberpunk 2077 team, Mike Pondsmith had this to say.
But people still say cool because it worked.
Oh yeah.
And it's cool.
People still say choom.
They say choom. Choom was really fascinating because, I thought that was going to be one of the more forced ones, okay? I was trying to find something that got across the idea of multicultural, God help us. In this case, I was looking for sort of an African sort of sounding, but it was unilateral because, there are just tons of languages in Africa. And then I'm hanging out with a friend of mine, and she's describing the group she hangs with. She says, I'm going to get together with my chooms, and we're going to do this. And I went, you're what? And I went, let me get this straight.
In universe, sometimes the word is given in its entirety as chumbada, or the slightly shortened chumba, similar to how someone would say bro instead of brother. It's hard to tell where the word originates from, whether as an original creation by Mike himself, as it appeared in universe in the second edition of the original tabletop game Cyberpunk 2020, published in 1990, or something else. In the same interview, he alludes that it might be based on a British term or Britishism, chum. Side note, a Britishism is a custom, manner, characteristic, or quality peculiar to or associated with the British people. Particular to us is the language. And due to the British colonization of, say, South Africa, for example, many of the indigenous peoples ended up acquiring Britishisms into their daily speech patterns. Chomi, or chami, is a South African term derived from chum when referring to comrades or close friends, and is very close in meaning and sound to the choom that we hear in game. There are other slang phrases throughout the world of cyberpunk in which their origins are fairly obvious and serve specific purposes. A corpo is a corporate office worker. The word preem is used to signify that something is satisfactory or premium. If you klept something, that means you stole it, stemming from the Greek root klepto, meaning to steal. One word with more obscure origins is the noun or adjective gonk, used as an insult, sometimes ironically, but oftentimes literally, and is deemed pretty offensive by some people.
So say it. Say you're a gonk little bitch and I'll let you live.
It means idiot, or dumbass, or just dumb as an adjective. The New Partridge Dictionary of Slang and Unconventional English does prescribe the word gonk with two definitions. It either means the client of a prostitute, or just simply a fool, although the word gonk is really never used outside of the cyberpunk context. The word does seem to have an onomatopoeic effect. Like, just by looking at it, it kind of seems like it doesn't really mean anything, or at least anything nice, and it does kind of have a very guttural sound to it. It's not hard to tell that it's meant to be an insult when used in a sentence. There's also a number of words that exist in the world of cyberpunk due to the advancements in technology giving rise to new things, and those new things need new words. A brain dance noun is a digital interactive recording of someone's sensory input and emotions. Usually used for pornographic purposes because of course it would be, but can be used as a tool for reconnaissance as well. To netrun, verb, or as a noun, a netrunner is someone who interfaces with the net and net architecture and hack into its programs and controls. This makes sense because the same thing happens in our world or in our history. An email, or to email, wasn't a word until people began sending electronic mail to one another, and they needed a word for that, so they called it email. Think Google. When you want to look something up on the internet, you Google it. Even if you're using Bing, you might still refer to it as Googling something. This isn't just a new information age thing either. Think about all the new innovations throughout history, like the printing press. The printing press wasn't a word until the printing press was invented, obviously. But we live in a special time because technology is advancing faster than it ever has before, and so we're struggling to keep up with new words that are being created. Going back to the topic of netrunning, there is an entire subcategory of slang and words pertaining to the act of netrunning, like ICE, an acronym for Intrusion Countermeasures Electronics, security programs designed to protect data and prevent intrusion by hackers. Side note, acronyms become words all the time, like radar or laser, or in recent times, the other kind of ICE. A cyberdeck is a computer that converts brainwaves into electrical impulses, and vice versa. Literally how netrunning is even possible. And my favorite, meat action, a derogatory term used to refer to actions made in the physical world, also called meat space. And this also reflects our world, because think of the last time you ever had a conversation with someone who is really good with technology, or watched a show or movie that featured a hacker. It's like speaking another language. At least to someone like me who often refers to YouTube whenever something goes wrong with my computer. And we do have to remember that cyberpunk is a creation of the 80s, where TV shows about hackers like WizKids, Timeslip, and Max Headroom became widely successful, but are notorious for being very inaccurate depictions of hackers and the exploits of hacking.
No way. I'm getting hacked.
Think about the phrase, "I'm hacking into the mainframe." Even as someone who isn't great at technology, I know this phrase makes no sense. But in the context of cyberpunk, it kind of does. Not literally, but it's the spirit of that and the spirit of the 80s that makes its way into the world of cyberpunk and its language. So is the language of cyberpunk realistic? Yes and no. I don't think we're going to be calling each other gonks and chooms 50 years in the future, but there might be something similar. After all, with the internet, there's a whole new slew of phrases that have been invented, and maybe some of them will stick. Maybe we'll be saying 6, 7, 50 years from now. Probably not, but who knows. I think one of the things that cyberpunk gets right is that its words have a purpose. People rarely create new words for things that don't already exist. And when they do, they often don't last. That's one of the reasons why the English language borrows 80% of its words from other languages. Because it's easier to borrow, some would say steal, something than to create something. But the cyberpunk world has many things which don't yet exist in our world, like cybernetic enhancements that allow you to jump 40 feet in the air in a single bound, or flying cars, or rogue AI. Cyberpunk is not a realistic rendition of our future. It's a critique of the problems facing society today if they were turned up to 11. And so, in that right, I would say the linguistics of cyberpunk is actually pretty accurate.